Today's customer service primer is just about listening. Everyone thinks they can do it. No, really, they think they can. They think they can listen. And not everyone is equally capable in the listening skills. Just because you hear someone doesn't mean you're listening to them. This comes into play in customer service when a customer uses different terminology than you do. That's one example. Or they are asking a question, but not the question. If a customer asks you, why does this happen when I do this? When I click on this? When I go to this site? When I do this? No. If they're not using terminology that you use every day in the office, you might miss it. You might miss what they're asking you. Completely miss it. You have to be a translator, and I'm not talking foreign language. I'm talking English to English translation. They may call something that they click on screen a button, where you call it a control or a drop down or a link. If they say button and you mean link, you may tell them the wrong thing, and they're certainly telling you the wrong thing. So at some point in the conversation, you have to stop and say, okay, exactly where were you and what else was on the screen? Exactly how did you turn it and how many times did it display? You have to get specific because people are not going to use the jargon you use every day. Jargon is like computer speak or accounting speak or whatever. Sales speak. They may be looking at your catalog and call it something else when on the page it says item number, but you want model number. Or vice versa. Some things have part numbers and serial numbers. Your customers could get confused by that. So just be aware that listening to how they're asking might cue you in on exactly what they're asking. So jargon is a problem. If you use a term all the time, but your customer doesn't use that same term and they use some other term that I don't know where they got it, but okay, you're going to have to do the translation. You're going to have to translate on the fly. That takes some experience. Don't expect to learn that all at once, because if you're just starting out in some customer service position, you may not know all the jargon yourself. So give yourself some time to learn it, but do learn it. Okay? Now, listening and hearing the question when they're asking a question. I had a customer ask me a question twice in 2 days. I gave her the answer twice. But what if she had asked me the question once? Would it have saved her some time, some aggravation, some frustration? You betcha. Sometimes a customer is dancing around an issue because they don't know how to express a certain thing or a certain frustration. They may feel frustrated with the operation of a certain electronic device, VCR, CD player, whatever, but they don't even know how to describe to you what this thing is or does. So they're asking you a question, But come to find out, that wasn't the question. They may be asking you, how do you adjust the color on this flat screen monitor? When really, what they're asking is, my monitor is always yellow. What did I do? Or, in my case, my monitor is always switching colors, or not always, occasionally switching colors. It goes yellow, it goes green, and then it comes back to normal. I am doing nothing in particular at the time. It just does. That is the question. If I had asked them first, how do you adjust the color on this monitor? That's not the question. That's a question. So here, that's listening. Sometimes you have to listen for the undercurrent, the underpinnings. You may be hearing a question, but you might want to ask yourself, is that the question? What do they really need? A lot of customers don't come out with the question right off the bat. A lot of the time. They don't know how to ask it. They really don't know how to word what they're experiencing, so you can help them with what they're experiencing if something has gone wrong with a blender or your driveway or whatever it is that the customer needs to ask about. They may ask you a question. It may not be the question. So with experience, you will also be able to tell that they're dancing around the question. Maybe you can ask it back to them, which I've had to do. So is what you're saying that your monitor changes color on the display every now and then just goes back to normal? Yes, that's exactly what it's doing. Oh my God, that's exactly what it is. Oh, okay. Here's what you need to do. See, it's communication. And believe me when I say that I know that even though humans pride themselves on their ability to communicate, they suck at it. We all kind of suck at it. I studied communication for years. That was my major. That communication disorders was my major. And wow, dolphins do it better. They really do. Those pops and clicks and little screeches, that's real communication, and they are asking the question the first time because they're a little brighter than we are. And we kind of dance around it because we're not as bright. We really aren't. So that's why I say dolphins do it better when it comes to communication. Well, they have to. Their life depends on it. If they have to communicate to a whole dolphin pod that we have to go west now, they're going to communicate it in the best way they know how, as fast as they know how, and those dolphins will head west now. Humans, on the other hand, we're a little creative about it. We're a little indirect. And we don't ask the question, and we don't state the fact. Like, this door is locked, turn around and go to another one. Listening is part of communication. It's a huge part, probably the biggest part of communication. I know that body language and intonation, huge parts of communication, but I tell you, listening is the tough one. You can hear somebody just fine and not be listening. You may miss the question. So, keep that in mind. It's not just in customer service, it's in everyday life too, but keep that in mind. That's our primer for today. Have a great day, have a great week.